Happy New Year. My head looks tiny. My head looks tiny when I lean back. That's better. That's too close. Hello, Happy New Year. Back with another vlog fundraising thing. Did you like my intro music? That is done by the amazing Tom Reed, who is a great musician. Worth checking out. And in this vlog, this video on fundraising and charities, I'm committed to not touching my face or eyes because a friend of mine said I touch my face too much in these videos. So I'm going to try not to touch my face. And today I want to talk about, I was going to talk about suspending belief and things like that, and I think I'm going to do that next time, because actually what I wanted to talk about this time is frustration I went through last week as a fundraiser at a small charity. So I mean, I work as a fundraising consultant for very big charities and very small charities, but most of my week I spend as a fundraiser in a small, medium-sized charity who's only about 12 or 13 years old. And I was kind of expressing my frustration last week on Twitter about, I suppose, what I was calling small shop fundraising syndrome, and it's that kind of fundraising frustration you get because you kind of, you know what you need to do to increase the fundraising and to just systematically increase it over time, but you don't have the money to put into it. And fundraising is all about time or money. Good fundraising, good growth takes time or money. If you have a lot of money to put into fundraising, you can grow quite quickly. But if you're in a small fundraising department or a small charity, you don't have that money to put in, and so it takes time. And I suppose what small fundraising syndrome is small shop fundraising syndrome is the frustration that it's going to take time. So I know what my strategy is. I know that it's going to work. I know that it is already working. But suddenly I kind of hit a wall last week where it's like, okay, I have so much to do. I have to do one of these at a time. Or a few of these at a time, and I have to wait, I suppose, a year, 2 years, 3 years for this to pay off. And it was just that frustration I had on the one day, and people were very supportive, because a lot of people were in the same boat, and yeah. So I just wanted to talk about that kind of growth of small charities and the frustrations with that, if I may, maybe it's to get it off my chest, but it's also, for anyone else going through that and the journey I kind of went through very quickly in my head, where I came back and realized actually I'm in a pretty good position. So I mean, what I find when I'm working with charities is charities generally go through the same journey, that they start as a very, small organization. It started by a founder who is usually personally impacted by the work of the charity. They've set it up because some massive trauma has happened to them or their family. They're personally really affected by it, and this is they want to set up this charity to help to address the issue. And it's one of the most beautiful things we have is this passion. Someone so passionate that they want to set up an organization to fix it. So they start off, and as a small charity, usually it works quite well from a fundraising point of view because they have the drive, the passion. It's early days, and as I saw Mark Pollock say, when he was talking about his own experience as a charity founder, Mark Pollock was saying that you get about 3 years of sympathy, and I thought that was really interesting, and I've seen that kind of repeated in real examples in other places, and it's true. You get about 3 years of sympathy. The money just kind of comes in. I mean, in the charity I'm working in, it was we had the height of the scandals that kind of formed the charity, and we were getting checks in the post, tens of thousands, kind of out of nowhere. And so small charities, when they're in that position, they kind of go one or two ways. They either are clever and they have a strong board and they put enough of the money back into fundraising, back into getting a sustainable base to keep them growing. Or usually what happens is they actually put as much as they can into the services because they want to help as many people or whatever as possible. And what that does is actually then cripples the charity, because they then have pushed their services to the limit. They don't have any money to put back into growth, and they hit this kind of wall. And that's where we see a lot of charities in Ireland and other countries. So then you get up to the medium charities, which are those, and they either kind of get stuck at that small medium space. It's very hard to come out of that, or otherwise they keep growing. And it's really interesting in terms of a communications point of view, because as a small charity, you probably know everyone on your database. You have this personal connection. It's very personal. Without even trying, you're very personalized, and fundraising works very well like that. And when you're a really big charity, you can afford to be personal because you have money to put into being very clever and being very personal and giving good service, supposedly, good customer care, good donor love. And so your donors come back. But where a lot of charities sit is in between, where they don't have the money to be personal and they're too big to be personal. And so that's when I think you get a lot of bad fundraising, is you're just stuck in this limbo where you're pushed to your limit and you can't actually personalize a lot of what you do. And I find that really interesting, kind of this growth of where charities go from small, medium to large, and the personalness, the donor care, very often kind of goes down and then comes back up as they get bigger, I believe. I don't know if that's true. I nearly touched my face, so I'm sorry about that. So I find that interesting, coming from a small shop, small fundraising department in a small charity, and it's like that's where we sit at the moment, is at that small medium cusp, I think. And actually I think my board and my CEO made a good decision of putting money back into, I suppose, into hiring me, but also into kind of investing a little bit into fundraising. Maybe not as much as I'd like, but it's happening, and I think that's why we're going to come through this. Well, that's why I know we're growing. So I think that was all kind of tied into my frustration last week and the wall I hit, and so I just kind of pulled myself together. But just kind of came back to, okay, just focus on the strategy, time or whatever time it takes. I know this is going to take months and years for each of these areas to work out. But I just need to focus on that, focus on my strategy. And I suppose my strategy is focused on different areas, because with my interns, I need to cover all these areas. And so it's that steady growth of individuals. So acquiring individuals and getting them to donate for the first time, and then giving them the personal donor care that you'd see in a really small shop or a really big charity, and keeping them coming back until they become kind of regular, reliable donors, and keeping my retention pretty high. At the same time, I need to get my corporates in, and last year went well in terms of getting new corporates in, and carrying on this year, bringing in new corporates, but also retaining. I mean, I want to retain, at least, totally bottom line, at least 60% of my corporates. I want them to come back, and then at the same time, be applying for grants and things like that. And for me, I mean, anything that comes through in a grant is a bonus. And then balancing all of that is this kind of is the community events, because they're a good cash income. I'm trying to get these community events going without spending too much time on them, and because they're a good influx of immediate cash, I have to do them, but I have to balance it with those. That's not a long-term strategy, so I need to do just enough of those to kind of pay the way for everything else I'm doing. And that's small shop fundraising. It's what I love, but it's also tough, but it's great when it works, and it is working. But so grounding myself and looking back at my strategy, it was like, okay, pull yourself together, Simon. Don't be a dick. Come on. And then also by looking at other fundraisers in Ireland who are I suppose in similar situations, who are like what they're doing. People like David Muldoon and Kevin Delaney, Colin Ski and people who've gone through it, like Denise Casement, who have actually, you can see their track record of growth, and actually they've shared their figures a lot of the time. And then looking abroad at good blogs like Pamela Grow is great in terms of small charities, and just keeping an eye on the prize, and just ignoring the grief you get from I suppose the board, in terms of they want the short term millions coming in from Google and Facebook and stuff like that, which isn't going to happen. But just focusing on that slow, steady growth in each of these areas, and just don't lose the head. And so that's my vent for this vlog. But that's it. So yeah, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time when I will actually talk about suspended belief.